Yes, people. We are back in the building with Mr. TM Cycles, Thomas Moore. First off, how did you get to TM Cycles? Tell me what the cycles means. We'll set up this podcast.
So I was originally, the main objective for me to start YouTube was to do an in-depth approach to cycling anabolic steroids. And my name is T Moore, so I thought TM Cycles, but now I blast and cruise, so the name's pretty redundant.
Yeah, so it's just TM Cruises, man. It's like P&O Cruises.
TM Blast and Cruises. TM B&C, but yeah, that's how it really came about.
Sick. Well, today we're going to learn about steroids, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, maybe some other shit, but like primarily that, because I want to learn, man. Because I feel like I'd just be more well equipped to answer questions if I actually knew what the fuck I was on about.
Do you get a lot in the Q&As when you do your own Instagram?
But like I just mean generally, like when you hear about other fitness industry stuff.
Yeah, you don't
I just rather know like what's what, man.
The bread and butter.
And like, you know, I mean, gone are the days really of like Boston Lloyd and Rich Piano where it was like put out your cycle, like maybe there is maybe we have a new Boston Lloyd somewhere. But like, I mean, I genuinely wonder, man, because I hear shit. So today we're gonna learn anyway, but we'll do some general background first. So let's do your proper intro. So what do you do currently? How do you live? How do you make your money? Etc. etc.
YouTube videos going out tonight about
plug your shit, man.
So I have my members site, and the reason why I created a members site was because I was openly talking about anabolic steroids on YouTube, but I had one strike, and then I had another strike, and then obviously a third strike, the channel was gone. So at that point I thought, right, I don't want to stop creating content surrounding the education of anabolics, so I thought I'd create my members site, not only just involving anabolics but also the training side of things, the nutrition, supplementation, and a forum page. So that's just blown up recently. You know, we're at 1,500 plus members, which is good, which is probably my main source of income. But I do YouTube, Instagram, if you want to like call it, but YouTube don't pay a lot, do they? Let's be honest. They don't pay a huge amount, but it pays for the shopping for the month, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I'm an online coach, a videographer as well, so I work for Shredded by Science and De Novo Supplements, doing a lot of their filming and social media, and a sponsored athlete as well by an Insight company, which is like predominantly American brands, which is like their niche, I suppose.
I think you're definitely more like, I see you like plugging brands and that, or trying subs from companies that I've never heard of, man.
Yeah.
Because you're in bodybuilding.
Yeah, of course.
I'm in like mainstream fitness.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas like there's different brands. Like a lot of mainstream fitness people, they've never heard of like, what's the one, what's
MV
that?
Pre?
No, what's that sort of company, that big Redcon one, the big, like they're massive, aren't they, in bodybuilding? They had
Dallas McCarver, who unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
He put them on the map in the sense of like a freak 20-year-old 300 plus pound. So instantly their audience was like, meathead.
This is what you take to get massive, man.
Of course, and now they just roll with it, and they're all just like massive.
Yeah. There's definitely like separate. It's funny actually with supplements and anything like that. You've got like 3 levels, haven't you? You've got like bodybuilding level, where it's like these mad like Americanized tubs that's like hydro core
5
tech,
kilos.
you know, all the words like, and like super American style branding. And then you've got like mainstream fitness, you've got like bulk powders, My Protein, Optimum Nutrition, USN, all those ones that kind of cover most bases, like and probably the ones that most people, I would say, they probably do the biggest business, like that market. And then you've got like the bottom of the barrel, like reality TV ones, man. You've got like fucking Slender Blend and like shit like that, like Protein World, Protein 365. All the ones that like reality TV heads push like every week. It's just a different piece of shit fat burner. Like just so like
that are linked with Holland and Barrett.
Just naming something like Slender Blend, man. Fucking, if you think that is like,
or carb blocker,
it's like people are gonna go, oh, Slender, it's called Slender, I'm gonna buy it because then I'll get slender.
Or toned.
Yeah. It's, well, the thing is, why are carb killers so fucking successful?
Yeah,
right?
no, it's true.
It's mad, it's mad how you can just name something the right thing, man. Sorry.
Right, John?
Yeah. So just something that came up while you were introducing what you do. I was thinking, like, do you think that it is, you know, now you can't talk about steroids openly on YouTube, right? And why is that? That's because of the laws surrounding them, right? Is that a YouTube thing, or is it because of the laws? Because I'm pretty sure you couldn't talk about, like, you couldn't I mean, you could do it in an educational way, but you couldn't say, oh, this is the best way to take MDMA, or this is the best way to take,
I know,
for illegal drug. You couldn't be showing someone how to shoot up on YouTube, could you?
No.
So is the reason you can't do it because of YouTube, or because of the actual law, or are they linked?
Well, the legality of anabolics within the UK is fine. Like, if they came into my house and saw there was anabolics, that nothing would happen.
Yeah. Possession is legal, right?
Possession is legal. So in that aspect, the legality of me going online within the UK, a lot of the American guys say, "Oh, how is this guy talking about anabolics?"
Yeah.
Like, well, we're allowed to. You're not.
Yeah. Australians aren't allowed either. They get big.
And I think Rich Piana got raided like once.
Did he? Yeah, he was getting raided for steroids.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I was going to say, do you think that it must have quite a big detrimental effect on people? Because a lot of people are out there taking steroids, man.
Yeah,
and
huge.
if they don't have the same access to that, like, you've had to put your stuff on a member's site. Like, a lot of people, they don't want to spend hours. They should definitely, they should.
Yeah.
But they haven't got the fucking patience and the focus to spend hours trolling around forums to try and find out, to try and become actually properly educated on these things. And so, like, stuff like your YouTube videos would be great for people to just come across. They can watch stuff, watch your Q&As. That's like beginner cycle or whatever it is. We're gonna get to that. Yeah. And like, with it being kind of restricted in that way, it must have quite a bad impact on, like, you're essentially, it's in a way it's the same argument as, like, the sex education argument in school. It's like not giving people education. They're probably going to do something anyway. And is that going to cause a big fuck up? Like,
and also the MDMA testing at festivals.
They have that.
I'm serious. Like, they run it out a couple of times and it's got such good feedback. But then there's one side of the story where it's like, no, look, you're going to be openly going to these festivals with pills. We shouldn't be giving that message. But regardless of them being there or not, I think it's a fantastic idea. Yeah,
so. I've listened to quite a lot of stuff about. I've heard of that going on before, especially in places like Holland and stuff. I heard they did introduce it at some festivals.
Yeah, they've done
the
UK ones and what they did was they collated all of the, like, bad MDMA, bad pills, which was substantial.
It was a scary figure, wasn't it?
It was,
I'm pretty sure I remember.
We've literally saved.
Yeah.
These, I mean, even if we were to talk, like, I'll just drop a quarter and drop a half, the potential impact of that's going to have on an individual. You are saving lives. So it's a weird one, because you almost don't want to go, like, here's bad pills, here's some good pills, have a good time.
Yeah.
But in the sense.
Well, I think probably what the government are trying to do, now whether they're doing a good job of it or not, it's probably, it's similar. You're in a similar situation in the sense that you have to find a balance between education and encouragement.
Of course.
You don't want to lead people down a certain path, but you want to say, if you are going down this path, I'm going to make it the safest path possible.
Of course.
Right?
And that's why I did that Instagram post the other day about those that are going to festivals at the moment, and here is a mixture of supplements that you can take to help the come down or to help alleviate any symptoms that are going to cause that massive dip in serotonin. So it's like one angle's like, this guy's literally saying,
take the revival pack, man.
Take
pills,
start
selling it as that, man.
Take pills and you'll be okay. And that's also what me and a friend of mine are going into in the future, which is creating a supplement to help aid that, called the TMC Cure, which is a mixture of supplements that will help aid that. But that's just like a marketing nightmare, because the legal, it's very hard.
Things are marketed. A lot of things are marketed in a backhand way, where it's like we're pretending that it's for something, but everyone really knows it's for something else.
I mean, there's loads of those supplements out at the moment. Something like Happy Tuesdays.
Can you do that shit? Like, is that possible? It's like saying I've got a hangover cure in it. Does one exist, or is that just the?
That's huge. But a lot of the supplements that are out at the moment, and that's why we're doing it, are just so underdosed, it's not going to have any effect at all.
Right. Are they limited? The doses are just limited by regulations?
They're tight, and they don't want to put their money in their pocket.
Right.
Put their hand in their pocket.
Just margins, one.
Exactly.
All about the margins. One.
So, I mean, it's a big market, and if we can tap into it correctly, there'll be a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Let's go back to how you personally came across steroids, your first experience of them. Like, what was it, and talk me through actually getting from that point of first experiencing to the point where you actually decide, right, I'm gonna take these.
I think we all know. I think even in the early ages of being a teenager, we're aware of what steroids are. Do you know what I mean? So it's always, you're always mind's thinking, God, imagine if I took that, what would happen? And I worked in Lewisham in South East London, and was in the sort of spit and sawdust gyms, where I think the sort of transparency of anabolics are a lot more. So you could just sort of say, oh, what you running, mate? And instead of hearing whey protein creatine, he's like, oh, I'm running testosterone. You think,
yeah.
You know, like, where'd you get that? You don't walk into GNC.
At the counter, mate.
Yeah, you don't walk into GNC.
Same place I got my membership.
Yeah, unless you go Greece. I mean, you can get stuff over the counter there. It's like one of the perks.
Yeah, a lot of places you can, Thailand and whatever,
And that's sketchy, pharmaceutical, supposedly.
Is that better or worse? I don't know if that, again, that's accessible.
Yeah.
Like, you're making it
better
so and worse.
I mean, we've got underground labs and pharmaceutical labs. If possible, you would want to stick with a pharmaceutical company because their quality control is far better. But then a lot of the underground labs that we use, we test ourselves to test for metals and to test the dose anyway. So, you know, it's almost like pick your poison. But if you can get your hands on pharmaceutical gear, then by all means crack on. But I suppose I just started becoming really interested, and it was the time when, like, I think it was Bronson, remember that film with Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
I was in this weird, like, 16, 17-year-old, and I'm trying to create this image of, like, being this skinhead big guy, and I thought the only way I can get there is steroids. But I didn't touch them until I was 20 years old, and because of the spit and sawdust gyms, I was very much around it and knew what they were taking. But because I probably had quite an inquisitive mind, I thought, instead of listening to what he's got to say or what a forum has got to say, because I was basing my personal training on sort of evidence-based, I was like, surely there's got to be evidence-based anabolic steroids. And there is, and you know, it doesn't take long to tap into PubMed and look into the science and the pharmacology behind anabolic steroids to get a good understanding of it. And there's guys out there like Dr. Dean at the moment who are putting out, you know, it's quite confusing. So what I say to him is, can I condense this, what you've said, into sort of an easy to read post.
Yeah, PubMed is not the most. It's not the most bites. It's not like bite-sized knowledge on. Especially even when I go into it, when I'm going to try and answer an actual question for somebody, I'm like, you know what? You need to have like actual knowledge of like even just the terminology of what a scientific study looks like and what it means and what's a double blind test, like what.
And as best as possible, we're looking for meta-analysis, not just one study, because you can either cherry pick and go, this this doesn't, which is what a lot of supplement industries do. So it just sort of expanded through there really, and then I think I was very much in the when I was like 17, 18, I was going out and not like pushing it massively with recreational drugs, but I just like I'm getting a bit sick and tired of it. And then I thought, instead of almost using that, I'll stop that and do this. You know what I mean? It's just a bit of a weird mindset to have.
That's funny, you know. I think I've definitely encountered that before with people who've been like quite heavy partiers, and then just stop it and go, right, I'm in the gym now. And it's almost as if like I'm swapping one poison for another, and I'm sort of weirdly okay to get away with this. And from there, and it's funny because a lot of the people, when you go out and you speak to them who take recreational drugs, and you say, oh yeah, I take anabolic steroids, they go, oh, God, that's going to kill you. And you think you've just snorted a load of coke and taken pills. You're telling me I'm going to die, where I'm just not really abusing anabolic. So, and it's from there really, and it's been, I mean, I've been, say, like researching, but in the industry for 6 or 7 years now, and there's just new research, new anabolics that come out constantly, and you just have to keep on the ball all the time when it comes down to anabolics. And now I have like a large client base, and with the large amount of people that use it, I have to make an effort, you know, to understand what is being put into your body. You have a responsibility, really, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you are playing with people's lives essentially with some of these anabolics, you know. I think it's often brushed under the carpet that anabolics are just they make you big, but the effects it has on, you know, your endocrine system, the effects it has on you mentally now, which is I think this is the biggest part that's coming out now as of this year and next year, is the negative psychological impacts of steroids.
This is what I was going to ask you about. One of the questions I was going to ask you about. We got to it a bit sooner than I anticipated, but it hit me. Tell me more about it. I mean, there's certain compounds that are going to emit a much larger response in terms of the detriment to your mental health. So
at that point, if you were to speak to an individual that isn't really in the best mental frame of mind, and they're saying, I'm going to go on Trenbolone, for example, then you would advise, look, this is not good for
ideal.
you. Or like equipoise, for example, can really set you off. And the post-cycle therapy process of bringing your testosterone back to natural levels, the drugs used in that, for example, the Clomid, and can really put people in severe cases of depression.
Yeah.
And have all, I mean, one of my friends as well talked about suicide, and you think, is it really worth it, that 10-week cycle?
For
you to do this?
It's a lottery, right?
And that's why a lot of people do implement this blasting and cruising method, so they don't have to experience this dip, not only in training and composition, but mentally.
Yeah.
So it's massive now, and a lot of the educators now are warning individuals of the side effects about the psychology behind anabolics.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear of cases of, like, you know, people going crazy, like Chris Benoit killing his family and shit like that. But they think that. But I've read up about stuff like that, and a lot of those they think is more related to like CTE and just getting banged on the head for 15 years. You know what I mean? Which is true of like American football players, wrestlers, boxers, you know, and it's not so common. And you don't really hear of that many bodybuilders just flying off and like, you know, or like killing themselves and shit like that. You actually don't hear of it that much, do you? But I don't know if that's because they die of a heart attack first, like.
I mean, the Daily Mail and the Sun are quite.
I don't know the stats on it. Like,
the Daily Mail and the Sun are quite easy to point a finger at. Like, you know, remember when in London the individuals ran over people on the bridge? Yeah. That what they found was that they were taking anabolics. Right. Yeah. And then obviously the article was steroids have caused them. I think it's like the steroids haven't caused an individual to jump in a van and run people over. No, yeah. But they're very quick and easy. And I've worked with a load of companies before and gone on, like, I've gone on TV shows and the news and written articles, and it's really hard to try and educate these individuals because they're so easy to stamp it and say that steroids will cause this, steroids will cause that. So it's always hard when you are talking about anabolics. You're trying to pick the right people to put out the good message. Yeah. Like Jeremy Kyle, I did a sit-down interview with Jeremy Kyle, which wasn't aired, and I was the only person, I suppose, on the show that was sitting there from an educational point of view, and he was just like completely rinsing it. Like, you're a drug dealer. I'm like, I'm not a drug dealer. I just take anabolics. Yeah. You're gonna die. You're angry. I'm like, this isn't the sort of. I think he's just trying to do Jeremy Kyle on you. Yeah, exactly. And I should have known. Like, you're not here for an actual combo. Of course not. And it was to shout at me. Exactly. Weirdo. It was a 30-minute documentary, and it was awful. And I think, fucking weirdo, thank God. Yeah. And now Jeremy Kyle's been pulled because of someone killed himself, I think. Yeah. Which is crazy. So in that sense, I suppose, like, must affect people in different ways, right? And in that sense, it is a bit of a lottery. Like, I feel like some substances are definitely more consistent across the board. Some affect people in different ways. Like, if I smoke weed, that's me, man. I'm just eating Molotov, playing Footy Manager until 2037, and I'm dead. I can't do fuck all, mate. All I can do is watch Family Guy and fold up into a sausage one. A lot of my guys will smoke weed, and that's their creative. They'll go train. I know people who smoked weed through the fucking uni exams and shit like that, and I'm like, same. It's odd, isn't it? What do you do? I don't understand this, man. And so I suppose steroids must be similar, right? You definitely get different physical. People respond better physically, but like. Maybe some are more susceptible to, like we said, like the mental health impacts. Generally just enhances what you are. It generally, if you're an angry person, these are going to exacerbate the issue. You won't find an instance where someone like yourself, for example, who seems pretty chilled, were to take a low-dose anabolic. You're not going to turn into Chris Benoit. Like, Mags ain't going to get digged. No, she behaves herself anyway. So that's it. We probably actually have to cut that before I get fucking... You can't joke about this in your bird. So I'm not cutting it. Everyone fuck off. It's a joke. So it will enhance an individual's personality, I suppose. It's the easiest way to explain it. What about other side effects, like aside from like the kind of mental implications? Like, what would you say? Because when people say to me, "Oh, how come you've never taken steroids?" Like, I'm like,
I mean, there's plenty of reasons. Like, I actually find that kind of a weird way to frame a question. Like, you don't need a reason to not do something, do you? You need a reason to do something.
Yeah, of course.
And there's probably plenty of reasons, but one of them is that, like, I think I'm scared of getting gyno, which we'll go into what that is if people don't know.
Yeah.
Having not being able to get my test levels back up to normal, because I've seen that happen to people, like and like whatever else it is, like what would you say?
Testicles is the big one. The atrophy of your testicles, which will deter people a lot. But then again, you can use compounds to stop that from happening.
Right.
You can use HCG to stop that and continue that signal from your brain to your testicles to continue. So it's almost like,
fuck it, get me on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I'll sort you out. I just come back from Greece. So yeah, I mean.
But what would you say is probably the most common side effects? What's
the elevated estrogen. So as soon as you put an external source of testosterone, your body's continually fighting homeostasis. So your body will then surge in estrogen.
Right, to try and balance out.
Of course.
Okay.
But alongside,
and you need to. That's where estrogen blockers come in, right?
Okay. So aromatase inhibitors, for example, that can alleviate and control that estrogen. But then again, it's all based on the individual. So you may be one of those people that can respond well to like a high dose test, and your body won't give this massive. It's not like you jump on and you will see this huge surge in estrogen. For example, I don't need to run aromatase inhibitors really, even if I put anabolics in. I'm quite lucky in that sense, whereas I know people that the smallest amount of anabolics they can aromatase and have to use Arimidex, Aromacin compounds to bring that down.
Which we're gonna. So let's go through what gyno is actually.
Yeah, so gynecomastia is the build-up behind the breast. So you're in this position where, and I talked about on my member site most recently, when you're first starting anabolics, you don't want to be in this position where you start to take anabolics and wait for those symptoms to happen and then use an aromatase inhibitor to bring it down.
Yeah.
You want to be...
Is it too late then?
Because it's not for certain, but you don't want fibrous gynecomastia where you have to get it removed.
Get it removed surgically, right?
And I've known loads of people that get it removed, and I've known people that have got it removed like preempting the worst so they can just run as much as possible.
Is that
it's like mentally to think like that is weird. I've known a couple of guys that have got surgery done knowing like, oh no, it's gone.
I might just cut my balls off because then they can't get any smaller.
Yeah, it's that exactly almost the same approach.
Yeah.
But they do have that. The Josh, my friend, for example, when asked the question about scared of having fertility issues, he was like, me and my girlfriend are cool without having kids. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
When I heard that,
what if she swerves you though, and then you get a new bird who wants
kids? This is it. Like I would never, just because. I mean, I want kids anyway, so that was probably why it hit me for 6 hearing that. Like, 20-year-old saying that
everything affects you. Fucking smoking affects you.
Yeah, of course.
Everything.
So to hear that,
basically,
it was odd.
I actually used menthols as my form of contraception when I was younger. Just smoke more so that I don't get anyone pregnant.
Yeah. So it was just odd. It was just odd hearing.
Horrific thing to say.
So that is probably that's the biggest scare is the fertility, and like you said, getting your testosterone back. But we have successful post-cycle therapy methods to help that.
I mean, I do see, like, you see gyno about quite a lot, man. And I'm thinking, and like people like in fitness, in the fitness industry, like big, people that are quote unquote big names, like. Yeah. And I'm like, you've got access to all the people, all the know-how, whatever you want, like.
And you're walking around.
And you still can't dodge it, like. So it must be something that's just really out of your control, like what.
Well, or they're just completely uneducated.
Yeah. Well, maybe just they haven't bothered, but I mean.
You
would think they would if you're going to be in the public eye. You're going to have your top off in every Instagram photo.
Of course. Utilise was the most famous one in his show a couple of years ago. That's not. You can't.
Claims natty, doesn't he?
Of course he does. Same as Simeon. It's just it's just odd. It's crazy to see, and that's sort of a giveaway, isn't it? Like, of course you can get gynecomastia. I'm not saying without anabolics, but then generally what you see cases of gynecomastia of those with higher body fat.
Yeah.
You don't see a shredded natural with gyno.
And usually you can see it from a young age as well,
right? Of course, yeah.
This is something I was going to ask you actually, because like you follow UFC, right?
Yeah.
MMA. So
they're all on it.
Yeah. Well, there was that famous Nate Diaz quote where he says, "You're all on steroids,"
yeah.
right?
I mean, McGregor's weight jump, even when I'm a massive McGregor fan, so I thought, because I admire him so much, I'm like, please don't be true.
He did flip off when Nate accused him, like.
And then, but just in all sports, I mean, have you seen the documentary on Netflix?
Icarus, I haven't seen it. I meant to watch it as research for this podcast.
I'm surprised you haven't seen that.
It's like 3 hours long, man.
Yeah, it's a good contest prep.
Yeah. I will watch it. But so what I was gonna say is, like, you see a lot of the UFC fighters, and like in the picture, sometimes I'm on like ShareDog. You've been ShareDog? It's like the website where it shows you all the records of the next fight. It's like good like website to keep up with shit.
Yeah.
And like the profile picture, there's like GSP is stood there with Gyno.
Yeah.
And I've seen him on Joe Rogan talking through his fucking teeth about how he's like, this.
Brock Lesnar, the biggest one.
Oh, obviously Brock Lesnar. Yeah. He was on the source when he was back in fucking high school. I mean, he's an animal anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm thinking, like, and there's even guys. What's the guy's name now? There's a guy. It might be Josh something. I don't know how close you follow it. He's just won a fight, but his previous one, he got knocked out by Jeremy Stevens.
Right. Okay.
Do you know, it was a bald guy.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? I forget his name, but whenever I see him, I'm like, you've got blatant, like, bad Gyno, man. And he looks fucking big and shredded, and I'm like, they need to. Why are people getting tested all the time? When, like, it isn't that. I know you can't just call someone guilty because of that, but it's very fucking obvious. I'd be knocking on the door in the night, like, pretty often if I saw if I was who's it that regulate it? USADA, yeah. US anti-doping
that's
agency.
all.
You reckon?
John Jones,
yeah, maybe John Jones gets
they
away
make
with
too much money.
Shit.
Dana makes too much money. The Fertitas brothers. There's too much money.
So do you think it's just
of course, the same.
Even bringing them in the first place, yeah.
You watch Icarus as well. You know what occurred and what went on is just like this is mind blowing.
Do you know much about other performance enhancing drugs? Like, so TJ Dillashaw, former bantamweight champ, got popped recently for EPO.
Yeah,
which is like erythro.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Very, very big in endurance athletes.
Yeah, right.
Lance was the most famous.
Is that what he was taking? Yeah,
and
EPO
and everything else.
Right. Okay.
He was very meticulous in his drug usage, but what you'll find is a lot of these UFC fighters are essentially using anabolics to increase sort of red blood cells to make them go for longer and longer and longer. Yeah. So
because you'd rather have. In a fight, you'd rather have in a potentially 25-minute championship fight. You'd rather have the endurance than your brute strength because you're fucked after 3 minutes.
Precisely.
If you just
Yeah, exactly that. So they're not really after the physical appearance of, like, they're not. Let's take Trent and Winstrol. Shredded for fucking UFC.
Coming in, big solid type
3%
from a
and start posing
instead
of knocking people out. So their main concern is endurance, and you can use like EQ, equipoise, boldenone for
I was going to ask you about this. There's a few drugs, so we're covering ground here. We're covering ground here, but I was going to ask you about this because like when I hear people, I've watched like old videos of like Boston Lloyd and whatever talking about his stack and like they say shit and I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I don't know the difference between like I've got written down. So the difference between like steroids and then you've got like HGH, insulin. What's a peptide?
Yeah, so peptides are sort of like an amino. A lot of peptides are.
I know peptide is just an indication, like saying ester. It's just an indication of a compound of the.
That are usually
molecular.
A lot of individuals in the industry now are just using peptides for the. Say, for example, knee or shoulders don't have adequate blood flow to them. I've had clients on peptides to improve the blood flow to that area, but you can also utilise peptides for like GHRP6. I think you can for like, appetite. So a lot of people in the deep stages of an off season that just can't be fucked to eat, all of a sudden have this massive surge of appetite. Which is like, so it's not like in essence it is making you big, but it's not like having any effect on your superlogical.
Yeah. But they're still banned, right? Say if done on the WADA list. I think so.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I reckon they would be.
Like, yeah. How do you administer them? Inject?
Subcutaneous.
It's
usually.
banned pretty much.
Yeah, of course. if you're banning like nicotine gum, I'm pretty sure.
If you're injecting it, it's probably banned.
Peptides are banned. But yeah.
What about? So what category is equipoise in?
An anabolic.
Oh, okay. That's just like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got your anabolics, you've got insulin, you've got human growth hormone, which are areas that I've never really tapped into, probably because I don't really want to use them.
Yeah, right.
So it's probably also almost my own ignorance in the fact that I should probably look into them. But
okay,
it's usually the combination of HGH and insulin where you see these big stomachs,
the bubble gut.
Yeah, because what people seem to not understand is that human growth is not only causing additional tissue to grow, it's also enlarging your hands, your ears, your nose, your feet, also your organs. So when Dallas McCarver passed away and he was on the autopsy, I think his heart was sort of like something ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
Just insanely heavy.
Well, just as a side note, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Steve Redgrave had the largest heart that they've ever recorded, something like that.
Really?
Which doesn't, obviously there is
genetically
your heart, and also like
the way they train.
But I don't know if that's
it's
of anything like.
But then you can
Olympic
get these
athletes,
Yeah, but you look at the individuals in the WWE, like the Great Khali, who have got like a pituitary.
Yeah, some people have got genuine
massive growth hormone levels. Take full advantage of that. It's like I get people who have got diabetes come to me and say, "Oh, Tom, I train. I've got diabetes, but I've got a shitload of insulin. Shall I use more, like to shut all these nutrients in?" I'm like, well, no, because you've got.
Okay, so what do people use insulin for?
For the purpose of nutrient transportation and almost utilising more food.
Right. Okay.
So post-workout insulin with a.
So I'm gonna get more out of my post-workout meal if I jab a bit of insulin.
Yeah, for real.
Have I got to do something with have I got to do that around my food or?
So you should you can't. So people, when Dallas McCarver passed away, I think individuals first thought it was that he went hypo because he injected and had no carbs with him. So he just.
Okay. So
it's like if you want to kill someone, you could inject them in their sleep with insulin and they're gonna pass away. So a lot of people.
Okay.
It's a very, very. My old training partner used to use it, and it was scary to see.
Right.
How quickly you have to go right. Inject the insulin, get some food in me.
Wow.
So it's that.
Wow, that's fucking scary, man.
And you pack it on. People that run insulin absolutely pack it on. But it's quite short term.
Right.
When they pull that food back down, it's like they sort of shrink again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use it like sort of backstage before shows to shuttle in extra carbs. Is not.
Shit,
it's
that's
not
mad.
uncommon. Yeah. So.
I've heard about people powerlifters taking injections on the morning of their lifts and shit. And I'm
because
like, shit, man.
Yeah, like
how can that affect you that quickly?
Drops,
Jesus, you can put something in yourself and your lift is going to be better an hour later, man.
Like check drops.
That's
I
some
think
fucked up shit, man. Isn't it? Aside from all the it's a shame that it's surrounded by all the negativity and I mean obviously that's because it's dangerous. Like there's no two ways about it. But when you think about it just on the pure level of what it is, performance enhancing drugs are fucking amazing. Because how can it's only chemical changes within me on a short term. Like let's say I start any fucking whatever from the pick from the catalogue. Like how long I'm going to be seeing strength improvements like pretty soon, right? Before I see physical adaptation in terms of like muscle mass, right?
Yeah. So again, very much dependent on what you're taking. For example, like an enanthate ester, we're looking at a sort of 4 to 5 weeks before we're reaching peak stability within the blood. So if we were to plot a graph, for example, and you were doing twice weekly injections, you will see this steady build up, and then by about week 4 or 5 is where we're pretty much at our super physiological level.
Yeah.
And people seem to have this impression that, the gear's in week 5, all of a sudden my strength starts shooting up, which is complete bollocks. Your levels are slowly increasing.
Right, yeah.
You don't suddenly get this, week 4 I can do 200 kg on the bench instead of 100.
Right.
Levels are slowly increasing. And in an ideal world, if we could we'd inject every single day.
Are there some that go move a bit faster? Like, cause I've heard, I don't know if it's only anecdotal shit, I don't know if it's legit, but I've heard of people saying like, started some orals or something, and like 2 weeks later, my bench was like way up.
Yeah, I mean, orals are going to have a
I'm like, that's
very
fucked
fast
up,
effect. Man. Yeah, a lot of people would
Isn't
use.
that amazing? Like?
Yeah, a lot of people would use orals as like a kickstart almost. So they dislike this 4 to 5 week time period of waiting, so they'll use.
Yeah, that's too long. No one's got 4 to 5 weeks to wait to get massive.
Or they would use like a propionate ester where you would see the effect slightly quicker than the enanthate ester, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, orals are, but the biggest one I get all the time, because they're scared of needles, is like, I'm going to run an oral only cycle. It's like the pressure that you're putting on your body and the benefit you're going to get from it, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Orals are notorious for raising lipids.
Yeah.
For liver,
Well, I think because we just take paracetamol and stuff and everything orally, it seems like nothing, doesn't it?
Paracetamol's terrible. It will deplete.
Yeah.
I think paracetamol depletes glutathione stores of about 90% so paracetamol's effects on the liver. Yeah,
there you go. You heard it here first,
it'll
people.
Get rid of your headache, but be very careful using that daily. Same as sort of anti-inflammatories. People that sort of get addicted to.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure ibuprofen will fuck your liver and shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I've got some more drugs that I want to ask you about because
go for it.
I'm just here to learn today, man.
Yeah.
Right. A very common question that I get asked is, have you ever, or would you ever, or thoughts on yohimbine?
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is whatsoever.
Yohimbine, yeah. So that in the natty world is utilised a lot. So you'd see.
Right. Is that technically natty? Is it?
Depending on what the federation is, I think, and if anyone's watching this can correct me, but I'm pretty certain that you can use it.
If anyone's watching, by the way.
If anyone's,
person at home.
If anyone's got to this point, I think that for the majority of the federations out there, you can use yohimbine.
Right.
I mean, we use yohimbine in conjunction with something like clenbuterol. So you've got the beta-2 receptors that is very confusing.
Yeah.
But essentially, in layman's terms, and I've done big videos about this, delving more deeper into it in terms of the sort of process in which it affects stubborn body fat, but is essentially targeting stubborn body fat.
Right. Okay.
Is what yohimbine, and it was brought about first as a to help those with erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And now we've got yohimbine HCl, which is the more sort of, I wouldn't say potent, but the more the compound that we'd use compared to yohimbine bark. So yohimbine HCl, but essentially you can get it in oral form, you can get it in injectable form, which is what I use before shows.
Right.
Because I've got like a fat ass, unfortunately, which is good for long-term health because we don't hold body fat around my.
Yeah.
But for a competition, it's terrible.
Good for when you're out in the club.
Yeah, and topical yohimbine. So this combination of sort of rubbing yohimbine on yourself as well as oral and topical has this massive.
Wow,
effect,
I am amazed at that, man.
So that's why there's some.
You can
sort
rub
of,
shit on you. That's like
but then that's why there's some sort of substance to when people say, oh, these sweat belts and rubbing cream on you don't work. It's like, well, they do have some.
Yeah.
They do have some value to it. Heating the area to mobilise that fat. If in a caloric deficit, then you chuck some sort of clenbuterol in on top of that. It's just like.
So you blowing my mind here. So you telling me that it's actually possible to spot reduce fat in a way?
But this is so it is.
Yeah.
And
wow.
What people like to cherry pick the study of the individual who did a certain amount of sit-ups, and they said, that's like the most used scientific study, but essentially you can spot reduce. Yeah.
Fuck.
And people are going to be
start
fuming.
Deleting stories, man.
Yeah, people are going to be fuming in the comments saying, "Oh, he's talking shit," but in essence, you can.
Yeah. You need to do a bit of trickery, but it's possible,
of course. And
it's encouraging, So, is there any
So the enhanced athlete, enhanced athlete.
I've seen his stuff.
Tony Huge guy. He's he's incredible. The enhanced athlete guys had a product called Helios, which is injectable carnitine, yohimbine and clenbuterol. Wow. So you essentially inject that into the area that's stubborn, and I'm not joking, the rate in which the fat comes off that area.
That's insane, man. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I know that the world of chemicals and what we're doing
is dangerous, man.
Like
finding all these you know, ways and means of doing stuff is kind of is so dangerous, like especially today, because I think like our culture now is so into like, oh, just get the shit injected into your face. You get you know, everything you can possibly do except go to the fucking gym, like,
of course,
except like
it's the quick fix.
hard and like the thing is like, it's not even going to the gym. Most people can go to the gym, but it's like just eating a bit less. Eating a bit less is difficult,
and exercising more
because of the way that like calories just packed into like all your typical foods that are like, if you go get petrol now, you walk down a fucking gauntlet of Mars bars and shit.
Yeah.
You have to go, and they've got like gates so you can only go one way. And it's like you're a fucking, it's like you're a lamb to the slaughter, man.
No, you are.
You're just walking through, and you're like, right, and you don't just have to say no once, you have to say no a million times before you get to checkout. And then she goes, would you like any of these today?
Yeah, because
these are here. I'm like, I just fucking made it this far, bitch.
I'll take them.
Give me the petrol and fuck off.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's good. It's good that they're putting like grenade bars in there.
Yeah,
I'm impartial to getting petrol in a grenade bar.
Yeah. Oh man,
So
I smash way too many protein bars, man.
Yeah.
You know, but at least that's introducing the concept of protein. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe it might be due to the protein. Maybe it might fill someone up a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, it's very gradual, but yeah. I don't know. Certainly, like in some senses, it's a good job that most people think you can't spot reduced fat, because you know.
That's why I like
you
getting
don't
into weird debates with them.
This is it. Like everyone who was a nurse has now retrained on how to do lip fillers, man.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
that you just make more dart of it.
Of course.
So your hembine injections will be the next fucking thing, man.
Yeah, of course.
And then
because they've got B12 injections at tanning salons. Right. In my tanning salon, obviously you can tell I'm so brown.
Yeah.
They do B12 injections, I think it is. So yeah, whatever. I mean, the way chemicals are going is crazy. But they're just to go on that. I don't want anyone to think that the milligram usage of your hembine that they're taking can be used in injectable form.
Right.
So the potency of an injectable yohimbine is so much more potent than oral. So to the point of where it's about, I think about sort of 0.3 milligrams of yohimbine, whereas some people are taking sort of 10 to 15 milligrams.
Right.
You wouldn't want to inject 10 or 15 milligrams because you would drop dead.
You'd die then.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay. What's it do? What's the actual? Because I know that Clen, from what I hear, does something to like your body temperature.
Yeah.
So it raises. Basically, you're just burning more when you're sat on your ass doing fuck all because you're trying to auto-regulate your
essentially,
temperature.
Yeah.
But what's your hembine? Is that a similar thing?
It works on a.
I guess not if you take them together.
No, it works on the adrenal gland. So it's confusing to have to try and think and explain it a bit again.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot scientifically.
Yeah, I know. It's like the instance of when Ziz took, was it that drug?
DMAA.
No, it was not DMT, fucking Joe Rogan. And he went into a sauna, and because it heated up his body temperature so much, that's when he completely...
that's when it's RIP.
Yeah. So just be very, very careful with those.
Yeah.
They're almost worse in the sense of a side effect to your health.
Dying's quite a severe side effect.
Yeah, like I just wouldn't
probably
want
the worst one, man.
It is a bit bad when people die.
Bit bad.
But with the effects of what clenbuterol on your hembine is going to do in terms of stimulation and raise your heart rate, that's when we're getting into all sorts of problems there. Whereas essentially a low dose testosterone isn't going to, without glamorising, say everyone should do low dose test. The effects of low dose testosterone compared to someone abusing clen and your hembine, you just got to be very careful with those stimulatory effects to your heart.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. All right, I have a question that I'm very interested in. What did it feel like when you did your first cycle? Like, does it feel sick? Like, is it like shit? This is like actually next level.
No, it's not. You don't.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, there's a tapping back into the psychological aspect. I think you do feel a lot more confident. Like generally, you have this heightened ego, and if you're an egotistical person anyway and quite arrogant, then you're going to be going in like tenfold.
Yeah.
So, and I could probably hold my hands up as well as other people in the industry who have used anabolics and had this sort of false, inflated ego. Especially last year, coming off the back of a contest prep when I was in the best condition possible. Then I held that condition, went to Ibiza, and then it wasn't great at all.
Yeah.
And then came back, and then it was almost like being in contest prep anyway, you are in your own bubble.
Yeah. You can't be a bodybuilder and live, mate.
No.
You can't be a bodybuilder and go to Ibiza.
No,
you choose one or the other, man.
Yeah, it's a. So now I'm going in September. I'm like, now I'm aware.
You chose Ibiza. Man. You chose wisely.
Yeah, I'm aware of the effects, but you don't get like you don't inject and go. It's not like Popeye and spinach. You don't. Just get some massive.
You're
arms.
not fucking. What's the thing that what's the Marvel one? The American dude with the shield one.
Captain America.
Isn't that based on something like?
Yeah, experiment overnight. I think.
Yeah. I'm sure that was like based on them actually like giving soldiers legit gear, like back in the day when they were first like checking it out and being like here's some test, go fuck shit up, man.
Yeah, it won't happen that quick. But then you can push the extremes of like Dr. Tony Huge at the moment's doing 30 pounds in 20 days or something ridiculous like that. Oh my Lord. And he's like gaining so much tissue every day.
How does your skin even deal with that, man? Aren't you an amazing fucking human, like, to be able to live through it, man?
Yeah.
I used to look at, like, I mean, Rich Piana's probably a bad example because he's dead. Like, but I was going to use him as an example, but, like, R.I.P. Rich, by the way. I actually miss your videos, man.
So do
sickest video. Rich Piana had the best comment section on YouTube, man.
Ever.
I used to read that and just piss myself laughing, man. If you don't know who Rich Piana is, go and watch all his videos. Start with the 8-hour arm.
I used to get excited when Rich Piana's commenters would comment on my videos. I think, I've made it.
Yeah. You have, man. That's it, man. But I used to see him in his videos, and he was like abnormally huge, like obviously cartoonish. Like
we've seen him at Body Power though.
Yeah. And I remember seeing. I remember he was in one of his videos. It was like one of his late videos. He went to the toilet and he was pissing and he was like and he was groaning and he was like, I can feel my prostate. It feels like I'm coming when I piss. And I was like,
because it's so enlarged.
I was like, you need to worry about that, man.
Yeah.
That's not how it should feel like.
They get too caught up in it though. They enjoy
it. It feels alright in the morning when you really need to go, man. Not like that, man.
He pushed it to the extreme.
But I used to look at him and think, how you alive, man? So your body's like, I mean, it's taking a lot of shit, man.
I mean, his prime example.
Obviously not anymore. Like.
So same as Dallas, the body can only withstand that amount of abuse.
But it can withstand a lot. Because you look at all the bodybuilders, 100%. Look at all them on the Olympia stage, you're like, you're big motherfuckers, man. Even just the stress of being that big, if you could somehow get that big without all the steroids, even just the stress on your system of being that big must be, because it's so alien compared to what a normal human physique that goes through a normal life develops to. Even like us sat here, even me, like even my physique is completely alien to what a typical physique would develop like, without weight training. If you were just going about your day, maybe once in a while you chop a fucking tree down your back garden, man, that's about it, mate. And like even this is kind of weird, but that extent is just
I know it's insane. But the dose is there, and because I think that the misconception is that you take anabolics and you look like those guys on the Olympia stage within a year, whereas I get a lot of comments like, oh, you still look natural and your progression hasn't been that great, and my genetics aren't probably in favour of that too, but the second point is that I'm nowhere near running the doses that these guys are running. And if you were to get my testosterone levels done whilst on cycle, it's still above that upper limit. It's not in these crazy high ranges. So there's like, that's the biggest misconception. It kind of got under my, it pissed me off a little bit when I first started, but now I'm just like, alright, cool. Because I suppose people now compare it's just like everyone who's natty and everyone who's on steroids. Precisely. There's no in between. It's like, you take steroids and you don't look like that, it must be fake.
Exactly. Like, But also in a sense you sign up for that. In the sense, I don't mean sign up for that. Like obviously people should be able to parse the difference there and recognise it when judging someone's physique or whatever. But what I'm saying is, if you compete in a bodybuilding show, you can't come out of it and say, "Oh, well, he's taking more gear than me," because you're there, man. It's the same as being natty and going, "Oh, well, he's taking gear." Well, it doesn't matter. You entered the show, man. If you want to enter a tested one, enter a tested one.
I mean, even my coach at this most recent show, he said, "Like, why aren't you running anymore? Do you not want to run?" I'm like, part of me wants to do the bare minimum and see how much I can get from it. I could pump my system with loads of stuff. But I don't really want to be in that position. I don't want to put my health, and then obviously
you don't want to be worrying about yourself, man. It's nothing's worth worrying about your health for. Man. Literally nothing. Like if you do want to succeed in bodybuilding and be at the top, you have to live. Eat, sleep, and breathe it. You have to almost have.
I just love the process.
Kind of issue, man.
Yeah, you know,
maybe like a bit.
100%.
I think most bodybuilders would admit that there's something a bit fucked about them. Like,
you see the people that have turned pro over the last couple of years, they have dedicated their whole life to it.
You've got to like, what makes you want something so much that you would put it above your health?
Yeah, that's what they do.
You know, and people talk about, and you hear bodybuilders talking about health, and it's a fucking facade. It's like when you see anorexic people on Instagram talking about how much they eat, skinny people about how much they eat, and it's like, all I do is caption like me, like fucking how I look when the waiter's coming over or some bullshit
so
like that. And I'm like, the waiter doesn't come over for you, man, because I know like general like calories in, calories out, and you don't like, I won't name names, like, but I came across her profile, and it's this girl, and she harps on about how much she eats all the time. And she's literally like got like blatantly needs help, like,
of course.
And I'm like, this
alarm bells are ringing,
you know. It's similar to how a lot of like the high up bodybuilders who are seriously like stepping on stage and they say, oh yeah, it's just about health, and I'm like, you ain't healthy, bro.
Of course. And with those guys, when we talk about blasting and cruising, their cruise would be like my blast, in the sense that their the primary goal of a cruise is to mimic your natural testosterone levels. That's all we're doing with a cruise. So essentially, this bulk that I'm doing for the last 10 weeks, I'm natty.
Oh, okay.
I'm just injecting an amount of anabolics.
TM Cycles claim natty on my podcast. Yeah. I'm gonna soundbite the shit out of that and put it everywhere.
Yeah, push that. So essentially, because my testosterone levels are mimicking my natural levels, this is a natty bulk.
Yeah, exactly.
But the guys who are the massive sort of Mr. Olympias, their cruise would just be tapering down a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still in this super level.
And the thing is, when you're on that level and it's that competitive, and you know you can get an edge, like
they'll just take it.
There must be so much pressure to actually do it, like, and that's why everyone's fucking pass. I mean, it's not that related, but people pass out on stage because they're fucking soaked, because
dehydrated.
Obviously not maybe not steroid related, but so
that's the diuretics.
So it's about pushing yourself so hard and so far, like,
that's the stuff that takes people.
Having somewhat like of a disregard for your own actual health, like, because there's literally nothing comes above that, really. Nothing should be a priority more than that, and so there's either something that's made you want this so bad, like, you know,
Plus, I like, you know, I'm very open about going to Ibiza and going to festivals, and I can't put myself in a position where I'm taking the doses that these guys are taking, plus enjoying myself. It just, and I always say to myself, I would never be in a situation where I'm blasting anabolic. So if I'm going through a 6 to 8 week period where my anabolics are slightly more raised, I'm not going out. I'm not taking recreational drugs during that time. I can't.
You're just in the zone, man.
Yeah, I can't. I'm in the zone as well because I want to achieve a certain body composition, but at the same time, I can't have that mix of chemicals, and no way would take it.
Yeah, I suppose that's even more that's psychological condition as well, because like,
and the one
people,
time,
you know, it's the Ibiza blues for a reason, man. You know what I mean? If you got that mixed with like hormones going up and down, I imagine you're fucked up, man.
That's why last year for me was so bad, because I was blasting and taking that. And psychologically, I came and I completely crashed post Ibiza. Didn't want to be with my girlfriend. Me and her were on the rocks. I didn't want to have a flat. I didn't want to work. It was. I thought, I've never been this low before, and now I know what my lowest is. Luckily, I don't. Thankfully, hopefully, I will never go there again.
Fuck about anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so detrimental.
Yeah. You got to go too far to learn, man. That's the process. So.
Yeah. So that is very scary.
Wow. Do you think that like that? I was just going to touch on this briefly. The men's physique competitors, especially in America, like, I look at them and I think, when you're not in board shorts, you're basically as big as a bodybuilder, just with a waist. Yeah. Just like, they must still be running some pretty fucking insane shit.
Hell,
look at people like Jeremy Buendia, Sadiq, all of them. And you're like, shit, man. Yeah, they must be pushing it pretty 100%. Hard as well. Like,
100%.
You know?
The misconception that physique or classic bodybuilders are taking or aren't really taking gear is, you know, look at guys like Chris Bumstead. They're like another level, you know.
Yeah, he's serious, man. He's classic, innit? But he's seriously fucking.
We're bringing back.
He's so young, man. Doesn't look that young though.
Last Olympia, he had this problem with his kidneys, and he was retaining water, and he was in a really bad way, you know. And that was obviously through the anabolic. So the misconception that these physique guys aren't running anything is not true. And they're they're like 100+ kilos shredded.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, like, I can get away with looking like a men's physique guy because of the shape of me and proportion of me, and I can take a selfie and I'll twist so my waist, a bit of a V-taper, whatever it is, and people are like, why don't you compete? And I'm like, I would get fucking nowhere, man. I'm like, you know, I'm light. I don't have the same. When you look at people like, even people like Steve Cook. Yeah. Steve Cook's arms are fucking huge,
so
man.
Big, I know.
They're big, mate. When he does that pose out there. His tries are like bingo wings, man. And people, and I'm like, this guy's massive, like, you know. And like, the men's physique, I think the men's physique in America are more... They're all bigger than like the men's physique over here.
In the UK, yeah. There's a few big guys. I mean, my friend Joe Brightman, he's a big dude. And now he's just rebounded off the back of so many shows. He's about 110 kilos and still shredded, you know, like. And it's freaky. And he's physique. He's supposed to be on the smaller side.
Physique, you know? 110 kilos, mate.
It's insane.
That's insane, man. It's wild. Okay, this is one that I was wondering about. I wasn't worrying about it. That makes it sound sus now. How do you get off once you're on? Like, say you've been on like for a bit, because that would also be one of my concerns. I'd be like, because I've seen people who've done stuff and then they come off for a bit and the test is just zing through. And I've seen people eating in a caloric deficit and gaining fat. Legit, mate. Because I've seen people on 2,000 calories who should normally be eating 3,000, and just because their estrogen's so fucking high or out of whack, like they're recomping the wrong way, man. They're losing muscle and gaining fat, and I'm like, shit, man. That's like the worst nightmare.
So that's why we do have, and it's a stellar protocol, PCT, and it works for a very large amount of people. You know, and if you are unfortunately the unlucky one, because I get a lot of, can I take only one cycle, gain a bit of muscle and hold on to it? It's like, you could possibly do that, but you could be one of the unlucky ones that just bottomed out their test and now have to be on TRT for the rest of their life.
From one cycle,
and that could happen.
Wow,
You can't say for definite. I mean, the chances are very unlikely, but you can't say it's completely nil. But that's where we have post-cycle therapy, and if you were to structure a cycle, a basic beginner's cycle, you would look at going on, say, testosterone for 10 weeks. Your last injection.
I was going to ask you about beginner cycle, so I'm glad we got to it, because I'm sure that's a question, like, must be your most common question, or one of, like, what do you do for a basic beginner cycle?
And that went out on the members site yesterday, in terms of breaking down everything, because you don't just want to tell the individuals this is what to take. I did a 2-part video, and the first part was the sort of foundations to what we should be looking for from a body composition point of view. We don't want elevated body fat because of estrogen. Bloods, we need to get your bloods done before you start cycling to assess your lipids, to assess your natural estrogen levels. If they're all in play, then we can look at then going into some form of cycle. So once that's sort of sorted, then you would look at an 8 to 10 week, usually 10-week cycle of 250 to 300 milligrams of testosterone, for example.
On its own, or?
On its own. There's no need to start getting tricky and start stacking it. There's just absolutely no point. Because the other downside to adding in multiple compounds on your first cycle is you never know what one is working for you. So you almost want to layer this up.
Right, so you can react differently to different compounds, right?
Of course, yeah. You don't want to start using testosterone plus Dianabol plus NPP.
Right.
It's like you want to understand how your body reacts to testosterone first. Cycle off, and then we can maybe chuck in Winstrol and testosterone, and all these Winstrol's had a really good impact on it. So it's at that point where you would just keep things very, very basic as a beginner cycle. And the post cycle therapy, the big misconception with that, and you've probably heard it as well, is wait 2 weeks and then you start your PCT. But because your testosterone levels are still elevated after that second week, we don't want to be putting any compounds in at that time. That's why we have the elimination period.
Right.
So you'd wait 4 or 5 weeks almost for your testosterone to be completely rock bottom.
Right.
And at that point is when we start the HCG therapy.
PCT.
Then because the recovery rate is so much better.
Right.
You don't want to have elevated testosterone levels and then start chucking these other compounds in.
Yeah.
Because the recovery is just poor. It may work, acutely, but then down the line, 3-4 months, you have these horrible cases of people with estrogen shooting up and their tests gone back down. So you have to wait until you're at rock bottom testosterone. Wait for the anabolics within your system that you've been using to clear, and then you start your HCG, and then you start your SERM, and then you go from there.
This is legit knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's and that rate is very successful. A lot of my anecdotal client case studies that have ran that specific protocol, as well as many other that recommend that protocol, very high rate.
Yeah.
And their testosterone levels are pretty much back to what they were, if not a couple nanomoles under. I think, say that your natural levels are like 20. If you went on cycle and put them up to 40 and then came back down, could we get back to that natural 20? Maybe, but more than likely a couple under is what I tend to see from what I've gathered from people that have cycled anabolics.
Do you deal with on a client basis or ever advise on female users?
Yeah, I tend to steer clear because I don't want to get into it, to be totally honest with you, and I don't want to deal with,
because it's a very small market.
Yeah,
right? Most girls do not want to be taking steroids on.
No, and those that do,
some do,
and those that do generally are pushing it.
Yeah,
they don't they don't like flirting with the idea of the little dose.
Yeah.
I think a lot of females.
They're usually people who are like in.
Yeah.
Like,
don't get me wrong, you still
with bodybuilders or something.
Yeah, exactly, and who are pumping them full of shit anyway, and you can tell because they've started speaking like men.
You do see like masculine, even with normal with male bodybuilders, you see like the jaw comes out. It's a big fucking square
because it's
jaw.
the decalcification of your actual bone structure. So I don't really. And I don't have, if any, females message me.
Yeah.
Probably what I get is boyfriends saying, "Oh, my girlfriend's thinking about jumping on Anavar." I'm like, I don't really recommend it, mate. It's just a fucking Ibiza holiday. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no point.
I think girls do clen a lot, don't they?
Clen, they do your himbine.
Is that gonna fuck you up at all? Does clen have any kind of like hormonal effect or
very, very slightly?
Very slight. I think so. I was actually looking on the WADA list before, and I saw clen was under anabolics. Yeah,
I think the what it emits in terms of a hormonal response is quite small. I don't think it's potent enough to, but nonetheless it would still be there. And females just sort of love to run clen, or what's the other, appetite. Their main concern is appetite suppression. Yeah.
Those girls just starve themselves on T3s and shit.
Yeah, exactly, and start fucking up their thyroid, which is even with my contest prep clients, I tend to steer clear of that. Yeah. We don't need it.
I watched a video once. I think it was. Have you seen Meg squats?
Yeah.
So she's I mean, I don't know if she's done bits of like bodybuilding training, but she's predominantly like powerlifting content now and has been for a while.
Yeah.
I watched one of her videos, like it must have been 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when she was actually talking to a girl who was, I don't know if she was I think she was a bodybuilder, and she was telling her about her actual experience taking anabolics. And she said a common one is that girls will do Anavar, or what they think is Anavar, but a lot of time it turns out to be Winstrol or something, and because it's cheaper. Is that right? Am I right in saying that Winstrol is cheaper than Anavar? It's like
a lot of Anavar that we would get is Winstrol,
right?
Because it has almost the same effect in terms of the appearance.
Okay. But apparently the sides. Apparently girls should not take Winstrol because you get like extended clit and
I mean that's
deep voice and
that's with most anabolics that are going to raise
that's gonna testosterone thing, right?
But then I don't like seeing certain anabolics as like less. Yes, they are less weak if you were to look at the anabolic and androgenic ratio, but then I don't want people to think that Anavar is like a safe steroid. People just think, like, oh yeah, I run a bit of Anavar. It's like,
people do think that, right? It's a classic Ibiza. Before Ibiza, a bit of Anavar, a bit of Winnie.
Oh, 100%.
Something like that. What was what's the one that in Australia they call it Stanazol? Is that Winstrol?
That's Winstrol, yeah.
Is it? Yeah,
Stanners,
okay, yeah. It's funny that.
But
Just remembers his videos being like, Stanazol.
Yeah.
Stanazol, bro.
The effect that like Anavar has on your lipids, so your cholesterol, is fucking frightening.
Yeah, yeah.
That will just completely blow you out, like really badly.
Right.
Which people don't think about. You know, they think, oh, it's only an oral.
Yeah.
But the effect that it has on there. So generally with females, I tend to steer clear or put them in a direction of someone that deals with those that are on them.
Right.
Because I don't really feel comfortable, like I've got some form of morally sort of advising females.
Yeah.
But I think obviously the side effects to females are a lot more severe. And irreversible. So that's why I'm
right. Yeah, because you don't have that natty test level anywhere near the same.
Estrogen being their primary hormone. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't touch them.
Yeah. Do you is there one of them that like affects your sleep or something? I've heard of people like not being able to sleep on.
Trenbolone.
That must be a fuck up. That one.
So you get like tren sweats and.
Let me cut in. A really good video actually for everyone to go and watch if they want is his name Pete Rubbish. Rubish, whatever it is, and he did a video a while ago called "The Truth About Tren." And he's just there talking about his like relationship and how he just wanted to like fuck everyone or fight everyone and like all that shit. I guess that's a strong one, right? Tren.
Yeah, because it's just so potent.
Right.
No, it's just so.
That's what I was gonna take if I didn't give a fuck and just wanted to get as big as fuck. And like, okay.
That would,
Okay.
That and.
What are you currently?
So I'm cruising,
right? And so you do blast
cruising.
And cruise, which is up dose and low dose on a steady dose,
pretty
correct?
Much,
right? Instead of going on a cycle and then coming off completely.
Yeah. So I think it's after IB for this year. My coach wants me to completely cycle off, where we'll use the PCT that we discussed.
You'll be full natty, man.
And I'll be full natty.
Full natty. Start competing in
full
natural.
So I'll have to change TM cycles just to TM.
Yeah.
And then
TM.
And then I mean the only reason why I'd look at completely coming off is for kids, really.
Yeah.
You know, in starting a family, and I think
so you don't get jacked up babies.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Even not really, no. Unfortunately not. But
kid comes out shredded, man.
Yeah. But a lot of guys who have got kids will just stay on for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
because that's their primary. You know.
So what specifically was like, in terms of the actual drugs and dosages? What was your last or next cycle or last?
My last one was for the PCA show and the NABA show, which was 50 milligrams of trenbolone acetate, so a quicker acting ester, 25 milligrams of testosterone propionate, and that was it. And I ran some Proviron 2 weeks before.
Which is what?
Which is an oral compound that's generally used for the final stages of a competition prep to buff your physique, potential for it to have a positive effect on estrogen and clearing up any potential issues there, and just generally creating like a drier, harder physique.
Right.
So it's more of like an appearance drug.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So when I go backstage and I say to people I'm running this and this, they go, like, what else? I'm like, no, that's just it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you running? They're like, fucking shopping list of shit. I'm like,
yeah.
This is mad.
How long you got, man?
Yeah. And it's just all sorts of shit.
Must be expensive, right? What people pay?
So you're looking at a vial of either testosterone or trenbolone at sort of the 30 to £35.
And how long is that?
Depending on the ester, depending on the actual ester, so propionate will probably last slightly shorter. But like a bottle of enanthate that's 10 ml will last you 5 weeks if you're doing that.
And you're getting that for what, 30 quid?
So essentially a full cycle will be 60.
It's cheap to get big, man.
Plus your PCT, which will probably be another
Jesus Christ, I spend more than that on fucking chicken, man.
So all in 100 quid for a 10-week cycle plus PCT.
Jesus, that's cheap, mate.
And then you got GNC selling tubs of protein for 100 quid.
Yeah, there's protein bars for £3.50,
man. Which is like a week of test.
For Mars bar with some waste fisted into it, mate.
So it's like, that's a big question. Is like, how much are you spending per month? It's like not really done on a monthly. I don't like work out my finances.
Go, Go take it off me taxable, man.
Yeah. So
is that a business expense for you?
No, not. I'm not. Unfortunately, not. No. I could probably wangle it to make it a business expense.
Yeah.
but it's not. It's generally not too expensive. Well, it's expensive if you're using the shopping list that they're using. Growth hormone is renowned.
It's expensive if you want to be Mr. Olympia, right? That's why they all get fucking sponsored and go to Kuwait and
their
shit.
growth hormone price is so expensive. Like good growth is a couple of grand. It's just.
So is there? I mean, although I'm not like particularly into bodybuilding as a sport, like I do definitely follow some channels on YouTube and stuff like that, and I keep up to date. Like I know the main top bodybuilders and stuff like that. I generally know what's going on. Like and one thing you hear is that over in is it Kuwait? Generally over there. Where's Oxygen Gym?
Dubai.
Over there that they've got the special shit, man. The anabolic chicken is what they call it, right?
They're supposedly linked.
Do you reckon they've got like some more advanced like?
I just think their methodology in terms of
they've got a lot of money, right, which means a lot of research.
Yeah, and I think the chemicals that they're using are of high quality. The regime that they're also on is they're being told to eat this meal, go to bed at this time, sleep during the day. And you look at the main component of growth is sleep.
Right.
So if you're creating a stimulus in the gym and pounding these weights day in, day out, and able to sleep during the day, sleep well at night.
It's literally, aren't you? You're like in a way, being a bodybuilder is a bit like a baby.
Yeah.
You just sleep
100%
and eat.
That's like Flex Lewis.
That's basically it, man.
The Welsh bodybuilder Flex Lewis. They said the biggest he got was when he first had his kid, because he was eating when his child was eating and he was sleeping when his child was sleeping. So he was just, I think I remember him saying on a BBC One documentary, he was like, the biggest I ever got was when I had this kid, that I was just like following the pattern of what this child was doing, which is eat and sleep, which is the two most...
kids so I can win the Olympia.
Yeah.
What about other drugs that aren't technically like illegal or technically steroids, like stuff like there was a big thing recently about SARMs, so if I think I'm right in saying that stands for, not that I know what this means, selective androgen receptor modulator, something like that.
So I just steer clear completely. Right. Ridiculous. The only people that tend to push SARMs are the people that are selling them. The research behind SARMs, again, you can cherry pick studies that are they're basically marketed as the same as steroids about the side effects.
Yeah.
But we have no long-term data that takes into consideration someone using SARMs for a prolonged period of time. We have data for those that are using testosterone and other compounds for long periods of time.
So aside from the side effects, what about efficacy in terms of actually like the anabolic, in terms of building muscle and stuff? Do people is it well documented that people get good results from SARMs?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Specific SARMs. I mean, I don't even...
I've seen things on forums and stuff. I'm just doing research.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people saying, I made these gains, like it was sick, and then some saying like literally nothing happened. Did Mo Samuels said he did some and fuck all happened.
Yeah, fuck all happened.
And he was like doing it proper. He had a guy who was like medically like in the know and stuff.
A lot of people will use SARMs within an anabolic cycle to potentially get more from the anabolic cycle that they're using. But generally, SARM only cycles just completely just forget about it.
Yeah.
In terms of the health aspect, you are much safer using a low dose testosterone again.
Right. Because it's just a bit of a shot in the dark with SARMs, right?
Yeah, you just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, okay.
And the new companies that are coming out with these SARMs that are trying to, base...
You're trying to bypass
it's just
legality by changing the fucking compound pretty much, aren't you? It's the same as all your legal highs and stuff.
That
you find out legal highs are actually way worse for you.
Just ridiculous.
Now the whole of Manchester's on fucking spice, mate.
Yeah, spice,
pro hormones, so what about those? Because they're
completely just ridiculous.
Right, what do they do? What's the difference between a pro hormone and a steroid?
Again, it's like I think a pre... That's something that I don't even bother looking into.
Yeah.
Again, ignorant on my behalf, but
they work, right? But muscle building point of view, everyone gets
in terms of the health implications. Again, you've got people like turning yellow because their livers are just completely just.
How come that shit's not illegal? Like I don't understand, because you can go to the Arndale Centre in Manchester now and buy some, like I've seen it in the shop.
Actual pro hormones. Or they're just marketed as pro.
No, the pro hormones on the shelf, man.
Yeah,
because they're legal, right?
I don't even know whether pro
They are
hormones
legal,
I
man.
think they
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
are.
Because that's why everyone thinks that they're like not as bad for you because they're legal, man. I don't know how.
Because so like you ingest it and your body basically turns it into anabolics.
Well, I don't know. I honestly, I have no clue. But I've spoken to people who've been on and off cycles for years, and one lad said to me in the gym once, he was like, you know what, the best gains I ever made were off those. And he pointed to a tub of these pro hormones that were in a cabinet.
Just a very grey area for me. I don't like.
I was like, shit, man. Yeah, generally, I suppose, like, if there's any lesson, it's be educated about what you're putting in yourself, man.
Yeah, of course. That's why there's never going to be an instance where I recommend a client to take pro hormones. Just like, no point.
Yeah.
Not with the education and research that we have on anabolics.
Yeah. I suppose it's that's the thing. Like, it's well fucking documented, isn't it? Because, just the sheer number of people actually taking steroids is actually mind blowing, isn't it? It's fucking mind blowing. Like, I suppose, like, if you took, how many do you think would be left if you took away everyone who's simply doing it for shit reasons because they like think that they need to be bigger? I suppose, like, I mean, obviously everyone's trying to get bigger, but like, a lot of bodybuilding is predicated on like just A, insecurity, right, and B, this whole sense that like one day you're gonna get there and be satisfied. The illusion of getting there when
we'll never be there.
Like, when do you get there, man? Is it when you're in the Olympia? It's not, because then you need to win 10.
Yeah, for those guys
to get the record, man.
It's never enough.
And
I think the statistic came out when I did the Guardian article a couple of years ago about like, I think the reporter said to me, there's like 30,000 steroid users in the UK. I was like, fucking, and the rest,
mate. I could list 30,000 off the top of my head.
Yeah. So it's just like, and this was from the research through needle exchanges. So we see more numbers now that are using needle exchanges. So you've got your heroin users and your anabolic users in this same environment because they want the needles straight away. So the figures, and will just continually, the pressures of social media, the Love Island effect.
Of course, man. No, my life would be a lot easier if I could get on gear. I can get on gear.
Yeah.
But it would literally, we're at that point now where I would, like, all my Instagram pictures would pop off. I'd have sick YouTube thumbnails. They'd all get mega views. And then I'd just, like, be open and honest about it, and I get all the fucking credit in the world.
Yeah, because you're so real.
Yeah, because I'm so real, man. You know, and so, like, really, there's no, like, there's a lot of incentive to do it now. And I don't know, I suppose, like, it's just, I mean, you can't always detach everything from, like, any little bit of insecurity, because what the fuck, because otherwise you stop, like, bothering to wipe a stain off your jacket, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be fully, like, Dalai Lama level shit the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, how much does it drive you? And once you get to the point where it's like risking your health, is that too far?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I would probably say, for me personally, but then you can't really make any kind of judgment of the other people's priorities. Like, I mean, I think that's it, man. I think we covered a fucking shit ton. I think it was great. Appreciate you filling us all in. So
thank you for having me on, mate.
Let me plug your shit. Do you want to plug your own shit? Tell everyone.
Yeah, like, it's just TM Cycles on most Instagram, YouTube, and then the TM Cycles member site is just on mine, thomasmore.co.uk, and that's where we have the forum page, and we can openly discuss anabolics a bit more than on the YouTube, because the whole YouTube thing is basically if it's in the title.
Yeah.
So sometimes I may plug the member site by putting like steroids in the thumbnail.
Yeah, exactly. You can put the that's a good word.
That's a little loophole. But then anything anabolic, my steroid cycle, gone.
You could say gear, right?
You could say gear or cycle. Right. I think it's actual like what comes up on my suggested Evan's cycle.
It's Tour de France recommendations, man.
So yeah, you
just wanted to learn how to get big, man.
Yeah. So cycle would appeal to the meatheads that know what cycle means.
Yeah.
But to the average.
Yeah.
And I still get that. TM Cycles, are you a bike company?
Yeah.
No. One look at my Instagram, I'm not a bike company.
All right, we out, people. Thanks for joining us. See you next time, man. Ciao, ciao.